another episode of Beyond the Black Rims. I'm Mars Girl.
I'm Josh Knight the First.
This is Season 9, Episode 14.
Or Episode 204 if you're counting.
Thank you so much for being here tonight. You can see straight through my chest. This is supposed to be yellow, but...
They're not that far off yellows, but mine's not... Well, okay, if I
tilt... It's a little transparent.
It's a little bit...
It's just a little too close
It's the green in the dye.
It's just a little too close to the color green in our...
Like, if you angle yourself, you can be more visible.
No. Not really. Not really.
You know what? We're just going to deal with
it. We're just dealing with it.
Screw it. We're doing it live.
Good to see all of you guys here today. Thank you so much for being here. This has been a super busy week.
It's Friday.
Very exciting week for a lot of different reasons.
Yes.
One of which... Well, there's
one of which... Okay, which one we want to talk about first? This one or that one?
This one's not transparent.
Okay, let's go with that.
Yeah. Kingdom Hearts 3 came out.
You're holding a physical copy in your hand.
I can't believe this is actually a real thing that really exists after all this time. After literally half my life ago, the first game came out, and I fell in love with the franchise, and then I fell in hate with the franchise, but now I just want to feel like I did when I was 16 and the first game came out, and... in a way, the story is so stupid, but the gameplay is so good and it's so fun that it's still so entertaining. I'm still so happy to be playing it this week, you know? What are you looking at exactly?
I'm looking for plot.
You're not going to find it, like...
Oh, okay.
Or you're going to find way too much of it. It's not going to make any sense.
Okay.
It's not going to make any sense. Anyway, that has taken up a lot of my time this week. I'm so happy.
See, I made sure because... The Overwatch, the Lunar New Year event started right before this came out, so I really had to grind to make sure I got that Lubu skin, so I'm safe for now, and I will eventually get the PS4 back once you are eventually done.
Yeah, eventually. You'll get it back at some point, it's just, we're not ready for that yet.
No, not yet. So yeah, you're enjoying this, it's been fun, from what I understand. I've liked watching what you've been doing.
Yeah, you've come in during some pretty big parts in the game. Some really big... You've come in for worlds like Hercules
Rapunzel.
And Tangled, you know. So, and those weren't secrets.
Story.
The Toy Story. None of those were secrets, by the way, so none of that is spoilers for anybody.
I had one thing spoiled for me, but I don't know if it counts as a spoiler, because they put out an official video for this new Utada Hikaru song that they have for this game. And there was just one quick thing that they threw in there, because it's all just footage from the game.
Right.
And there was one thing I didn't know they were doing in the game. I'm not going to say what it is, because I'm going to do you guys that solid. And it seems like kind of a no-duh thing when you think about it, but I was like, oh, that's really cool. I didn't know that was going to be a thing.
Yeah.
So... And I know a lot of people have been, for the most part, really good about not spoiling things. But again, just a friendly reminder to you guys, some people have lives that are scheduled different than you. Some people go to work at different hours. Some people haven't had a chance to get the game yet. So just really be careful with putting information about the game out there. Let's let everybody enjoy it at their own pace, if at all possible.
Strangely, though, you're absolutely right, though. People have been pretty good about restricting spoilers.
It's just little... bits here and there.
Oh, sure, which is really normal. I admittedly totally dropped references to a Final Fantasy game made in Kingdom Hearts 3, which, by the way, other than that, there's really no Final Fantasy characters.
Right.
That's the super disappointing part about Kingdom Hearts 3, you know? Because that's what the franchise initially hinged very tightly on, was mixing Disney with Final Fantasy, and now that element is totally not even there anymore, and it's sad to me. It kind of is.
I understand that, but that wasn't the only thing we got to do.
No.
Again, I don't know if you guys can see my semi-translucent green tea Arizona can here, but this is the Alita version, which is available in stores now, again, for just 99 cents. Good on you, Arizona. But we were lucky enough to get tickets to an advanced screening of Alita Battle Angel last night. We're not going to go into spoilers, of course, because it doesn't come out officially until February 14th or the night before. I do feel confident in saying this is it, Chief.
Yeah.
This is the one.
Guys, if you're looking for that Hollywood anime movie adaptation, it's this. It's Alita. And now, mind you, I always thought Speed Racer was friggin' good, okay? I don't know what
well, no,
people...
Speed Race, not to detract from Speed Racer.
Because
Speed Racer is a cinematic masterpiece.
I don't know why people used to complain about it so very much when, like, Speed Racer is a friggin' cartoon. I know it's an anime, but it's also a cartoon, and so was that dang movie. So I don't know what people wanted. I got exactly what I expected out of Speed Racer, but Alita, I was just like, wow. Things that happened in the manga and the anime, they are happening here on screen. I was like, oh my god, this thing, I can't believe they actually went there and did that thing. I thought that, oh, this is America, they're gonna skirt around this, and then they didn't.
They went for it.
Yeah.
They buy in. I know a lot of people are saying, well, the visuals kind of throw me off. I don't know if it's gonna work. I assure you, they've told a story here where you buy into the world that they have created here around Iron City, beneath Zalem, all of these different facets of life there work. There wasn't a single complaint I had about any of the performances, hardly at all.
Right.
Like, I realized halfway through the movie, like, I came to myself like, oh man, I haven't been this immersed in a movie in a while. I'm watching a live-action anime, and I'm not using that as an insult. That is praise.
Sure.
Like, I can't believe this thing met so many of my expectations. So definitely, we'll talk more about it once it actually comes out. But for sure, you have our... we are both in agreement here. We believe this is the one to break the curse.
Yeah, thank you, the Des, for the follow. And to kind of wrap up that idea, I know some people are going to be like, I don't really want to see it because her eyes still kind of freak me out. You'll get over it. I promise you get over it. It's not even a big deal.
Alita herself is such an engaging, nuanced character that I'm glad they were able to get across there, because she's both equally, like, bright-eyed, not to be punny, but, you know, she's bright-eyed and looking at the world anew because she doesn't have her memory, but they clearly balance that out with that doesn't detract from how much of a badass she can be.
Sure.
And she is an absolute badass in this movie. Like, you know the scenes I'm talking about. There's one... I'll say this much. There's one line in the movie that people are going to be quoting left and right once you hear it. But beyond that, yeah, it was a great movie.
I actually don't know what quote you're talking about, so
Then we'll go over it later.
You'll tell me later. Okay, so, but aside from that, do we have anything else going on this week? It was especially a big deal.
No, it's really been those two things. Oh, tomorrow, another thing we got to get a chance to go see. We're going to go see an advanced screening of Lego Movie 2, the second one.
Yeah, I'm excited about that one. That one's another one that just, oh, this happened to fall into my lap, so we're going to be going to check that out. We've been just getting a ton of these early screenings. I'm super excited.
Really saves on the pocketbook.
Sure does. Oh, it sure does. And to get information out there before the big crowd is kind of cool.
Yeah.
It's a fun experience. It's a fun experience being out here to get the opportunity to see all these films.
Absolutely. And then we get to report back to you guys about things we've reported on, and then we just get that extra facet of, okay, now we can actually really dive in on this, which I really appreciate.
Yeah. But speaking of these dives, we should probably talk about our major stories that we're going to be talking about coming up just a little bit later on in the show.
So our first story of the evening is going to revolve around the wait for a Super Mario Brothers movie, which is not going to be live action, it's going to be animated. We're going to have to wait a couple of years before we get that, 2022. So we're going to talk to you guys about that, the quote that we do have from the head of Nintendo, and just what we can hopefully expect from that movie.
The second story, are we going with the memes first, or are we going with
the other one?
With the thing that it may as well be a meme. Fast and the Furious is getting its own spin-off movie, names of the characters.
Yeah, Hobbs and Shaw. Now, normally this isn't something we normally cover on the show, but we do cover superhero movies, and they're going in that territory.
Which is strange.
Which is kind of strange.
But we're going to talk about why that's relevant, why that might be a good time, actually.
And how there's been, very quickly, a lot of fan reaction to it, both positive and negative.
But finally, our third and final story revolves around Shaggy memes, which is not the direction I thought the show was going to go in. I did not think we were going to talk about memes, but it is relevant because it's a meme that got so popular.
So much traction.
That one of your favorite game franchises is teasing that they might put Shaggy in their game. Why? Fans want it, I guess. So we'll be talking about those things, but before we get to those major stories, we do want to go bullet point by bullet point through our follow-ups.
The follow points, yes.
Follow points? What's a follow point?
Follow point is a type of bullet that I use in a gun to shoot the follow-up stories.
Because this is called the follow-ups.
Follow point bullets.
You know what this is.
I know
what
this is.
Section.
I know what this is.
It's your section.
That's right, it's my section. Let me do my section. Okay, so, normally we do start off with DC news every week when we do the follow-ups. Predominantly, the whole section is going to be taken up by a lot of Batman news, because we already covered some details about the filming of The Batman about 2 weeks ago, so we didn't feel it was right to take away from another story here, but we do got to give you guys all of this follow-up information. So the first thing is that we have solidified, yes, it's going to be, from the mouth of Matt Reeves, the director, it is a detective story. We are going to see the Dark Knight detective in this movie. So that's music to my ears. People have been crying out for it ever since Batman Begins came out. Like,
right.
We want a Batman who thinks.
And I didn't dislike Batman Begins, you know, but
No.
Especially by the time we got to Ben Affleck, thank you, Raichu, for the host. By the time we got to Ben Affleck, it definitely felt like this guy doesn't think, this guy doesn't search for anything, doesn't search for any information. We need a detective.
That actually ties into the next thing. Because of the forward momentum now of the Batman, Ben Affleck is officially out as Bruce Wayne.
Right.
Now, people, of course, have actually been pretty kind to him now. I know a lot of people out there were very not okay with the idea of Batfleck, but people have come to appreciate, hey man, it wasn't your fault. We actually thought you were pretty decent Batman, you just had a crap script.
Yeah, I mean, when I say Ben Affleck, by the time we got to Ben Affleck, that's not me saying that it was Ben Affleck's fault.
Right.
That's me saying that, unfortunately, when you see Ben Affleck as Batman, there's a certain Batman you're thinking of, and it's not a detective.
It's the same thing there. He bought into the franchise because they sold him a certain concept of Batman that he wanted to be. And eventually they departed from that. All of these things kind of fell apart around them. Again, not his fault. He was trying to save it.
Yeah.
But, you know, people have thankfully been pretty kind about it. He's actually been pretty nice about it. Can't wait to see who puts the cowl on next. The other thing we can confirm is that they are going to begin the process for casting the villains, plural, for the movie. This movie will have a rogues gallery. Now, some people might take that as awesome. We can see new villains that we haven't seen on the screen before.
Right.
Other people are like, I don't know, every time you have more than 2 Bat villains in a movie, that movie kind of suffers. So we don't know.
It does feel like it's kind of spread thin, yeah.
Exactly. So we got to take that with a grain of salt as to how much that's going to help or hurt the movie.
Right.
The other thing to talk about there as far as Batman news goes in the movies is we wanted to go ahead and address this since a lot of other people have been able to confirm this, which is actually confirm a denial. There's been a prevalent rumor going around, spread by different websites, news sites, that Warner Brothers was trying to come up with a plan for an animated Batman Beyond feature in the vein of Spider-Verse. This has been proven false.
It has been disproven.
This is not a thing that is going to happen. Just people were talking. Certain sites ran with it. This is not a thing that's going to happen. The phrase itself didn't make a lot of sense. People did finally go into it. IO9, Gizmodo, they've already looked into it. They've debunked it.
Sure.
So this is not a thing that's going to happen. People would still like to see a live-action Batman Beyond, but there is no current plan for any animated Batman Beyond movie. Okay, so now that we got that out of the way, let's go ahead and look at some of the other stuff here. So we had a little teaser, actually, for the Birds of Prey movie. Now, this was just like maybe 20 seconds of footage, just kind of in the vein of the Todd Phillips Joker screen test that we saw, just kind of screen test shots of Harley Quinn, of Huntress, of Renee Montoya there, of Ewan McGregor as Black Mask, not wearing the Black Mask.
It's weird.
Yeah, but I imagine he's got to put it on at some point.
Otherwise, he wouldn't be Black Mask. Yeah.
Apparently, same thing. And again, these are just tests.
Sure.
So we haven't actually really seen the characters being themselves here. But they are filming right now. Set pictures are starting to crop up on the internet. So be aware if you guys don't want to be spoiled. There's one minor scene that they're filming right now that doesn't really seem to spoil anything. It has something to do with a roller derby event, but we don't have context.
Okay.
So that could be anything.
Anything, sure.
But we do know it's tied to that. Yes, Margot Robbie is starring there. You can see her there as a seemingly more happy Harley Quinn.
Yes.
One interesting thing that people are noting is the difference in tone. Just looking at her visually, you can see she's literally wearing a dog collar, like with a name tag on it, but the name tag says Bruce. and people are wondering whether or not that's in regard to, does she know Batman's identity, or is actually a reference to Bruce Timm, who created her for Batman the Animated Series.
I don't know.
I don't know. We don't know yet.
Well, why would you make a nod to a guy who doesn't actually exist within your world?
Just as an Easter egg, but that's a really obvious Easter egg.
Yeah, like, that's a super specific name. You don't just wear some random guy's name belonging to somebody you don't know or have not heard of before.
So, we don't know yet. Hopefully we'll get more of that information, see more of the characters in a more proper light, get a good look at the Huntress costume, things like that, as filming continues. The other thing to report on was from DC Universe. We've got a trailer for Young Justice Outsiders Season 3 Part 2, and they're developing more of this plot about all of the threat coming from Apocalypse, from Darkseid and his machinations there. They do seem to be adapting some of the Judas Project here for Young Justice, but from everything I've seen, I like how they're doing it, because I didn't see it coming until we got to a certain point. It's like, oh, snap, that's what they're doing. And for those of you who don't know, you can go check out the Judas Project movie that they did about a year or so ago. That'll give you all the information. They've adapted it on the old Teen Titans show, but this is just another example of them putting that plot into play.
Yes.
But otherwise, they've just introduced Cyborg. They've got all the players they need there. There's just the question now of where are, like, Starfire and Raven for Young Justice Outsiders, because they're kind of relevant to the plot there. Okay.
All right.
So let's go ahead and move on to kind of two things we're having to group together here, which is talking about something we've been talking about before, Morbius the Living Vampire over at Sony, and as well Ghostbusters, this new one that Jason Reitman is directing.
Which we reported on like a couple weeks ago now.
So they both have been given premiere dates, and they're both going to be in July of next year.
That's pretty soon.
That's pretty soon, and that's only 2 weeks apart. So they're really going to fast track these things. Now, apparently, like we've been reporting on, Ghostbusters has been in the works for some time now, at least a year of prep, and they're just now getting into worrying about casting.
You know, I'm kind of glad that they didn't even tell us about it until they had done that much work.
See, that's the thing you always say that you liked about what was it, Fallout 4 when it came out?
No, Fallout 3, 4?
No, I'm pretty sure it was 4.
It was 4. Okay, the one before
76.
76.
It was 4.
It was 4. It was 4, and they announced it only like months before it was released. Back when, you know, Bethesda was doing things mostly okay, and we weren't making fun of them for the crapshoot they've turned out to be. Yeah, having a game already produced, largely having any movie or TV show already, like, you've got it mostly in the can, and you're like, surprise, this thing's coming out, get excited about it now. You're like, oh my God.
That's not to say we're going to last year's Cloverfield paradox levels of, hey, the movie's done, you can have it in 3 hours, like that sort of thing.
Yeah.
But no, it's nice to see that they've got a goalpost. Let's just see what they do with it.
Exactly.
Because even to me, that's like, that still feels like that's really soon. So
I
don't know.
I mean, a year and a half is a long time to wait, but in terms of film, it's kind of not.
All right, so let's go ahead and move on to a little bit of Star Wars news here. So we have confirmation that actor Sir Anthony Daniels, got to remember that, Sir Anthony Daniels has officially wrapped on Episode 9. Of course, him having always played the role of C-3PO. So
he's done.
He's done.
That's probably
arguably
the last Star Wars thing, official, him in the suit he's gonna do
for the foreseeable future.
Yeah. This is it. This
might be it.
Ooh, nervous about how this is going to turn out in the end.
Now, ultimately. I imagine once we get to Celebration up in, was it Chicago this year?
I think it's Chicago this year.
We'll get more information, because we're assuming we're going to get a trailer or something at Celebration. But for right now, we're starting to get all these things like, so-and-so's wrapping, we're getting closer. We're within a year now. Like, it's coming.
I'm nervous.
It's coming.
I'm real nervous about how this is going to end up.
All right, well, let's talk about another sequel that most people are happy about, which is Zombieland 2. In keeping with the 10-year glow-up meme that's been going around, the official Twitter for the movie has posted a picture here of the two of the cast in both movies. The original here next to me, and the current iteration of the cast next to Kaylin. It's the same cast there: Woody Harrelson, Emma Stone, Abigail Breslin, and Mark Zuckerberg.
Mark Zuckerberg.
Well, I'm sorry, Lex Luthor. Jesse Eisenberg there on the photo. They're all back. They look fine. They've got similar weapons. I mean, it's them.
They look a little older. I mean,
one of them looks very much older because she's just little right there, and then she's taller here, and her hair's a different color.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, okay. So, yeah, this is moving along. Very much looking forward to the title here, Zombieland Double Tap. Of course, something they referenced there in the first movie, that if you're going to kill a zombie...
you have to make sure it's dead with a second shot. Yeah.
Which is just smart. But we'll keep an eye on that. Maybe we'll get a trailer coming up here for Super Bowl Sunday. We don't know yet. But looking forward to more on that movie.
Yes.
Okay, so moving on to some other news here. In Overwatch news... two things. One, they've revealed a surprise map that's going to be coming up. It's in PTR right now, which is a Paris map. We've gotten to get a look at this, people who have access to PTR. It does look to be a capture map covering... It kind of looks like the Rialto map, but you can see the Eiffel Tower off in the distance. There's a nice little mansion that you can fight in. There's a lot of alleyways, which is why people likened it to the Rialto map, where you can flank your opposing team and take over that way. The other thing going along with that is we are just 2 weeks out from the start of the second year for Overwatch League, and they're offering the season pass, the all-access season pass, for $14.99. That's half the price it was for last year.
That's to watch it streaming? Or?
That's to watch it streaming. Okay. You also get 200 League coins, which is like a $10 value in and of itself. You also get, I believe they said something like, if I'm looking at this correctly, 500 bits if you're on Twitch Prime.
Okay.
So you can go ahead and parlay that together. You also have access to streams after the game with the players. Very much looks to be a really good value here. Really looking at the fact that it's half of what it cost last year.
Sure, sure.
And it's definitely less than the cost of a ticket to actually go watch Overwatch League.
That's the thing. They seem to be encouraging you to go out to watch the league physically a little more often. Yeah,
not this weekend, not next weekend, but the weekend after that. That's when it starts up.
Yeah.
Hopefully we'll be able to get to go out again.
That was a blast last year.
Yeah, I loved it. You know, I don't go to a lot of sporting events, but this felt like a sporting event I could get behind because I understood everything I was looking at.
Exactly, yeah.
So yeah, that's coming up. If you want to get in on that, that's available now. Just go over to the Overwatch website. And the last bit that we'll go ahead and talk about before we get started with our other stories here is around this fill-in series in between the end of Lupin Ranger versus Pot Ranger, which is coming down to the end, and then the beginning of Ryu Soldier, which is the Super Sentai Super Battle. It's going to be a small limited series here, but we do have returning actors here, more than what we reported on before of just Red Rangers. So we also have Lupin Red returning from his series. We have Gohan Red, we have Boken Silver, Gao Red, and one of your favorites, Gokai Yellow.
Yes.
Who is also providing the voice for Washi Pink. She won't be showing up in the series, but we do have other actors returning in voice. We have Doggy Kruger coming back. We have Ninja White coming back. All of these people coming back for this Super Sentai battle. It looks to be pretty interesting, given that this isn't an anniversary year.
Sure.
And I wonder, because we've never had something like this before. Normally we'll have like a movie or something like that, but not like 4 episodes in a row of, no, this is a limited series. We're going to be putting this out there on Sunday mornings, which is, first thing that comes to mind is they're buying time. Like, they just need a little bit more prep time.
They're not ready for this next season, next Super Sentai season, you think.
Right, and some series handle that differently. We know with Kamen Rider a couple of years ago, they just kind of padded out episodes, which is why some seasons ran a little longer and felt more drawn out. They were just buying time. Whereas here, instead of just making the current series suffer, we're like, okay, let's give the fans something else that we can readily put out. And all these actors are more than happy to return to their roles.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
And it's always such a joy to see them come back, see them take the field again, do their transformation poses. So we've got that to look forward to in the coming weeks.
Yeah.
But that's going to do it for our follow-ups. Let's go ahead and get started with our first story with the Super Mario Brothers animated movie.
You gave me so many other pictures that we never even looked at. Where are we at, Super Mario Brothers? You're in here somewhere. Why don't you just start talking? Because there it is.
Okay,
there.
so... Wait, I'm going to put the hat on.
Oh, you want to wear?
I'm trying to be the Luigi. There you go. All right, now get out of his way. Okay, there you go.
Hooked on the brothers.
Hooked on the brothers. Okay, so we do have a direct quote from the president of Nintendo that plans are moving forward with Universal and Illumination Animation to do a Super Mario Brothers animated movie, and that won't come out until 2022.
It is kind of far away, but we do have kind of room to speculate, room to think about the decisions they might make. Mind you, it is Universal that's getting that Mario Land, right? Universal Studios.
Yes.
At first it's going to show up in Osaka, and then I do believe it's going to come out here. I don't know if it's going to be both in Hollywood and in Florida.
Far as I was aware, it was just one.
It was just one Florida. Or the other. It was just Florida. Oh, that's unfortunate because we could have just like driven up the road.
Oh yeah, that would have been freaking. Because I remember us reporting on it, and far as I recall from us doing that, it was just going to be Florida.
Like we were disappointed.
Yeah,
when
exactly.
We were talking. So okay, it makes sense that they would choose to do this with Universal because they've already got a business partnership with Universal.
Right.
So who else? Universal did. Who was doing Capcom's movies?
That was Universal as well.
It's also Universal?
Universal Japan was doing that Monster Hunter attraction for a while, too.
So the Monster Hunter movie, is that also a Universal Studios running?
Offhand, I can't remember. I'm going to have to check on that
Yeah, that's something to look into. We don't have to think about it right this second or anything, but mind you, this is probably a fantastic palate cleanser for the other Super Mario Brothers movie that we had in North America at the very least, being live action, and of course nobody liked it. Nobody who worked on it liked it. And this is gonna be, let's see, 92, 2012.
It's been a minute.
30 years, like about 30 years removed from that last movie.
So for the Monster Hunter movie, that's with Constantine Film and Impact Pictures. Since they're still filming it right now, we don't have a distribution company for it yet.
I get
so
you.
It could be Universal.
It could be. It could be. And what about the Resident Evil movies?
Those were... I want to say those were Sony.
Screw it.
I'm pretty sure those were Sony.
Those were probably Sony.
Somebody will back me up on that.
Yeah.
So yeah, the idea of them going along with it makes sense. Now, as far as Nintendo's going, Nintendo's become a household name since the late 80s, early 90s, getting onto the scene with Super Mario Brothers.
Right.
And at this point, Mario is a household name. You see kids, adults, everybody in between. Everybody knows who Mario is. Everybody knows who Luigi is. Enough time has passed between the original movie. The Switch is selling like hotcakes. They're looking to put out a thinner one, maybe even as early as this year.
I didn't actually hear that.
Yeah, that came out like yesterday. That they're planning on doing a thinner.
It's already thin.
Yeah, I know.
They want to make it like
like
iPad snappable thin. I
guess.
I
wouldn't want that. I like the way it is now,
like
a more sturdy tablet.
But Mario is so popular; he's more recognizable around the world than Mickey Mouse. I think that is really fascinating, especially when you consider Mickey Mouse kind of got his own theme park, and now you're putting Mario into a theme park, and
almost a competing theme park.
Kind of the competing theme park. So it's really kind of a fascinating decision. And my question is, this is 3 years down the road. Do we really think it's going to take 3 years to produce this movie? Or they just want it to be really, really good?
Well, because here's the thing we have to take into consideration. Because it's an animated movie, it's going to take longer.
Sure.
Because if we're just shooting something, like, we could... Look at what we were talking about with Ghostbusters here. They've got, even though they've been doing the planning, they can shoot this thing pretty quick. Because in most cases, a shooting schedule for a movie is about, give or take based off your script, say if it was, at the far end, which is something I actually forgot to mention there for Batman. The script is looking to be at 160 pages, which is around, when you translate that, maybe about 3 hours.
Right.
But usually your scripts are about 120, so about a minute a page, so to speak. So if you're looking at like a 90-minute, 2-hour script, usually your filming time for that, if you're doing live action, is anywhere between 3 weeks to 2 months, depending on locations, things like that. But if you're all doing it in a soundstage, usually you can take care of that and bring it more in-house. And then, of course, you got to worry about your post and things like that. Now, if you're doing an animated movie, say Spider-Verse, you've got to plan that way in advance. People record those lines years ahead of when the movie's released. And then they'll bring them back in for changes to the script.
So they're working specifically with Illumination,
yes.
right? So this is the same studio with like Minions. Of course, they're the ones in the logo shouting Illumination.
Yes,
it's horrifying. But that having been said, so this is gonna be 3D CG.
I would assume so, yeah.
It's gonna probably look really similar to Super Mario Galaxy, our current Mario parties.
I wouldn't hate that, because I think that would be the smart way to go, because people are already used to seeing Mario that way.
As of late, yes.
Yeah.
But people are also used to seeing him in a 2D setting. That's where...
But you gotta think about your target demographic here. Nintendo has always skewed family friendly.
Oh, sure.
And because of that, yeah, people do know Mario in a 2D format who are our age. And most people our age, admittedly, aside from us, have kids, have families. So they're skewing it towards the kids who are playing these games. Now, people our age too are still playing the games because they're just great games. Odyssey was amazing.
Odyssey was fantastic. I can't believe how good that game was, quite frankly.
So for him to come out in a 3D rendering, that just seems no dud.
Oh yeah, I understand that.
So you're going to want to keep it as recognizable as possible. You're not going to do all of these wacky things that, say, the Sonic the Hedgehog movie is doing, where you're just completely trying
Let's make Mario look like a real dude, and
let's give him cellulite. Like, no, don't do that.
Let's make it so that, like, well, normal people can't jump that high. Normal people can't hit bricks with their head. I don't give a dang what normal people can do. Mario ain't
what normal people can do.
What like he's not a normal.
He's not a normal people. He's a plumbers.
They are the plumbers.
Yeah.
The iconic plumbers. So, mind you, it's of course not the first time that Mario has been animated. We're all very familiar with the Super Mario Bros. Super Show.
Yes.
There was the Super Mario Bros. 3 animated series. There was a short, like, Super Mario Bros. OVA movie. It was anime. It was adorable, actually. I loved that one. That was fantastic. Go find the French sub out there somewhere.
Because you can't get it anywhere else.
You can't. You really, really can't. So this isn't the first
there's
time.
A line.
This isn't the first time he's been animated, but it's very infrequent that it's in a movie, and also very infrequent that it's American made. Because this is like Illumination. They're going through the American side of things, right? This isn't like some Japanese branch of Illumination. Right?
No. It's just them working in conjunction with Nintendo, which you would hope they would be.
Yeah, of course. You wouldn't want an unofficial Mario movie, you know?
Well, so to talk about that, people are going to be questioning, okay, how much canon are we diving into here? Because what story are we telling? Are we telling basically the Super Mario 3 or Super Mario World plot? Are we going to do it more like Odyssey? Like, how are we going to attack this
I'm sure it's
thing?
just going to be its own thing, because every single game is just its own thing that just happens to have some really similar elements. You got two brothers, you got Bowser, he's going to kidnap the princess,
Which princess?
Well, I would assume.
Yeah, we would assume
I'm
Peach.
I'm gonna assume Peach because
but they chose Daisy for the live action for some reason.
And then that's not even counting Paulina, whatever. Our original girl who showed up in Donkey Kong. There's a lot of choices of girls that he could be kidnapping, but more than likely, if you want to go with brand recognition, you would be an idiot to not choose Peach. If you're choosing family-friendly, iconic, symbolic, just trying to churn out merchandise.
And that's going to be part of it, too, is like, do you make a tie-in game, or do you just let people play Mario as is? How many places are we going to see Mario besides this? Because we already have seen, like, just on its own, Mario Candy, Mario Cereal. He shows up in Happy Meal toys
I used to eat the Mario macaroni and cheese back in the 90s.
And we here at Beyond the Black Rooms would like to take a second and talk to the audience and say that we are firm believers that macaroni tastes better when it's in shapes.
Absolutely. Please bring back the Super Mario Brothers Kraft macaroni and cheese shapes. I would buy all of them and eat them, even though I only infrequently eat macaroni and cheese anymore. Anyway.
Okay, but back to talking about Mario. So, so the idea here is, I do see the question there. Do we have the current actor for Mario continue to do the voice? My guess would be yes, because one, he's already doing it, and two, it's just easier brand recognition. Now, I understand why people would question that based off something like Detective Pikachu, because, you know, you would figure you want to keep some of the voices the same, you know, pull assets from the anime, from the other games of what the Pokemon already sound like, but in this particular case, Pikachu talks, so we have to give him a voice.
But he also sounds like Pika Pika to normal people, so they're using the original Japanese voice actress for Pikachu when he just sounds like Pikachu.
Right.
So it's actually exactly the same. They're still using the same voice actors.
So,
there's no reason to not use the same Mario voice
But the question
actor.
here is, because we're talking about Hollywood here, you want to have some sort of star power draw in. So that being the case, would they be tempted to give somebody else a different known actor's voice?
I hope not, because like let's see how well that worked out in previous iterations, right? Because no other animated or live action version that we've had has used our current Mario's voice, and I feel so bad that I'm blanking on his name. Super feeling guilty about that. But go back to our live action movie almost 30 years ago now, who was played by Bob Hoskins. Do we need another Bob Hoskins voice? I argue we need a happier, lighter, friendlier voice, because this is a family-friendly thing. Very similarly, Super Mario Bros. Super Show is like, hey, you Luigi, like that slipped in the one time. Like,
Captain Lou, may he rest in peace.
Captain Lou's voice. Does that fit the image of Mario? And you get a really similar voice throughout the cartoon aspects of it, throughout the animated portions of both the Super Mario Bros. Super Show and the Super Mario Bros. 3 cartoon. You get just these big old fat plumbers talking like this, like they just came from Brooklyn. And
but I'm more used to, you know, me growing up, you know, Super Nintendo era, like, thank you for playing Nintendo 64. Who's next? You know, when those were available to just test out, you know, Super Nintendo. You would go to Toys R Us, they would have the Super Nintendo, they'd have the N64 set up, you took turns, and now the only place you can find an N64 anymore is at a broke-down McDonald's Play Place, where they've got old broken ones with bad old tube TVs in there, and they don't hardly play anything. Come on, McDonald's. You know they're going to get the tie-in, though.
They're probably going to get the tie-in. They've released Nintendo tie-in Happy Meal toys over and over and over again over the course of the years.
Like, it's going to be everywhere.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. There's no way this isn't going to be the biggest, most marketable movie in a very long time.
Because Nintendo's got the money to back this up.
Sure.
They will put as much as they have to into advertising for this. And the thing about it is, because of brand recognition, they don't hardly have to.
No, not at all. They already know what works. They don't even hardly have to make new toys. They don't even hardly have to be new and ingenious. They only have to be new and ingenious when it comes to the actual film itself, and then the toys just sell themselves.
I think the smart thing they can do, liking it to something like, say, Lego Movie or even Spider-Verse, is that when you hone in on what makes the character, you can have little references here and there to other things. Like at some point, Luigi's got the backpack from Luigi's Mansion. At some point, they've got the backpack from Mario Sunshine. You know, just little things here and there. He changes hats at one point. You know, have the Tanuki ears.
Yeah.
And the tail too. Like have him wear the cape. Like at some point, it doesn't have to be everything, but you can reference everything and have people go like, I remember that game, or I remember him doing that.
It's gonna be so self-referential. It's gonna be nuts.
It almost has to be.
And you know, at some point, he will go 2D. He will. You will see something.
He will go 8-bit.
Yeah, he'll go 8-bit at some point, which would be great because it'd be just like Super Mario Odyssey,
where he could go to 8-bit at some point.
8-bit in certain points, and that would be fantastic. You know, you'll start to see people in Mario Maker making Mario stages based on the movie. So you don't even need to release an entirely new Mario game. You just let Nintendo release stages in Mario Maker based on the movie, and that'll encourage new sales of Mario Maker.
So really, to kind of wrap this up, this is kind of a no-dud decision. We knew a movie was eventually going to come out. The fact that it's animated, I think, is smart. That does mean it's going to take some time to put together, but I think if they don't overthink it and just do what people are expecting, like, no, man, don't reinvent the wheel, don't show us your new album, just greatest hits. Give us greatest hits, and we're going to be fine. And don't play Mario Party in this movie.
I don't know. Mario Party seems like a smart idea.
30 seconds of a flashback of Mario talking about what it was like playing their version of Mario Party and everybody getting mad.
Everybody hating each other.
Everybody hating each other. And a reference to Mario Kart.
Oh, they're going to be driving carts at some point.
He's got to drive a cart at some point.
Yeah, there's going to be a race. Like, they have to compete in a speed racer type race for whatever reason to try and win that
because we've already seen live action Rainbow Road in Speed Racer. You can't not do it.
Yeah.
That's just the way it is.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, I think we've done all we can do.
All right, so let's go ahead and move on to our second story of the evening, which, again, is not something we normally cover, but we do cover supervillainy. And that seems to be the case here in this new trailer for Fast and Furious Presents Hobbs and Shaw.
So I don't entirely understand this. Let me try and explain this to the best of my abilities.
All right, go ahead.
So there's 8 movies about guys in fast cars, and they steal those cars and stuff. I understand that. They have a lot of people, and they have a lot of cars, and sometimes they have to steal those cars for good reasons instead of bad reasons.
Yes, I'm with you so far.
2 of those characters that I feel like are not necessarily 100% iconic to the Fast and Furious franchises, although they have been there a few times. They're just action stars, and so they're making this movie. They decided, we want to make our own action movie together. Then they said, well, you know what would sell it even more is if we also said that this was in the Fast and the Furious franchise, even though it involves superpowers and it doesn't look like it's hardly Fast and Furious at all, because there's a few cars, but there's not like a lot of cars. There's like punching, and there's kicking, and there's glass shattering, and it doesn't look like I need to know jack about Fast and Furious. It just looks like Idris Elba, he can be a villain if he feels like it. He can have superpowers because he's Idris Elba, because he's allowed.
And he can do anything he
wants. And then Jason Statham and The Rock decide they need to punch him. And I don't care whether or not that has anything to do with Fast and the Furious, quite frankly. It looks extreme, and I think that's what it's supposed to be. Okay.
That's what I think. That's pretty much it. Let's go ahead and go on to our third story. No, like, that's it in a nutshell.
That's what I think this movie is.
That's pretty much it. So to go ahead and recap there, Hobbs and Shaw, of course, are 2 characters from the franchise. Hobbs, of course, being played by Dwayne Johnson. Shaw being played by Jason Statham, who famously killed off Han back in Tokyo Drift, and people are still pissed about that. A lot of people voicing that here. We've known the movie's been coming for about a year now. You know, they've been filming it, been working on it, and people are just now complaining with the hashtag Justice for Han. Like, why are you having them team up? But you guys are forgetting, that's the whole point of this movie. They don't like each other.
Oh yeah, it's right there in the trailer. They're both pointing at each other like, why do we have to work together? Why is anybody complaining about this?
Yeah.
It's a movie, and that Han person doesn't really exist. He's not
press
real.
F right now. Pay respects.
No,
he's
not real.
I'm gonna do it.
No.
Okay, we're good now. But no, so we've got this movie, and of course, yes, mentioning there, Idris Elba is the villain here, named Brixton, who, in a first for the series, you know, because they've fought different warlords, they fought the government, they fought drug lords, they fought helicopters, they fought bigger cars, they fought a submarine.
They fought in cars falling from the sky.
Yes, but in a first here, now, I'll go ahead and justify this as best I can, if you can justify it. Brixton here is some kind of a terrorist who has done some sort of experimentation, which you can see here, which has allowed him superhuman powers. He calls himself superhuman here. That's not an exaggeration. He has enhanced strength, durability. He calls himself bulletproof, super speed. Like, he's nigh invulnerable.
Yeah.
And this is a first for the franchise. Now, I think what's really interesting for this is the fact that when you take all of the other movies into account, we have never said any other character in these movies has any sort of superpowers. They're supposed to be the everyman.
Mm-hmm.
That having been said, if you look at even the last two, and you look at the stuff they have them doing, it is nothing short of superhuman.
I guess so,
It's just the fact that we're having to put a label on it and saying, no, he's straight up superhuman. That's when people have a problem with it. Like, no, man, this is a movie franchise about real people with real life. No, they're not. They're more attractive than you. They have better cars than you. They have more money than you.
They're richer
in
than
world.
Yeah, in world. And that's not too dissimilar from their real life. So
Yeah, so, and the thing of it is, a lot of people have actually gravitated towards this. Like, I saw this first thing this morning, and I'm like, I've only seen about half the Fast and the Furious movies, because I come from a family that loves these movies.
Yes.
You know, because they appeal to a certain demographic, which is, you know, the summer popcorn crowd, you know? And there's nothing wrong with that. I love a good...
I will totally go and see this.
See, that's the thing.
Normally, I don't know jack about... I've only seen the 7th one, which is a weird place to come in.
And we still enjoyed that one.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. I had no idea what was happening. None at all whatsoever. But I feel like I don't need any of that, because I look at this trailer and I'm like, well, these are characters that I don't feel like I need to know very intimately.
And see,
like
that, I believe, is what they're banking on, because you can pull in superhero fans, like, oh, they're fighting a supervillain, so this is basically a superhero movie. All right, I'm in. And then at the same time, it's like, for people who are in with the franchise, it's like, oh, well, there's all of this backstory, so I know what's going on with these characters, and I'm invested.
Yeah.
I've been here for all these movies. I want to see Hobbs take down Shaw eventually. And then beyond that, it's like, it was a brilliant move casting Idris Elba, because that man can act the phone book, and I would give him an award.
Yeah.
He's just so good.
I still don't know why we're not giving him James Bond.
For real.
I really
For
don't.
real.
I don't know why we're not.
Elba for Bond. But beyond that, like, exactly how you described it. You so aptly described what they're going for here. They're going to get people to go see this movie that have never seen a Fast and the Furious movie.
Sure.
Just based on, I know that guy, I know that guy, I don't quite know that guy, but he's a supervillain, and there's explosions and cars and people falling out of buildings. Why don't I want to go see this?
Yeah, I don't see a need to know all 8 previous Fast and Furious movies.
And to be fair, you only need to know about 5 going into this. I think that's the accurate number. Somebody can back me up on that. But that having been said, like, there's nothing in this trailer I don't like, because, you know, we've talked about this before. One of my favorite guilty pleasure movies is The Scorpion King.
Yeah, I understand.
I admit it's not a cinematic masterpiece. But
no, and it was before The Rock.
It's what got him his start.
It's before he understood what acting was.
Exactly.
So,
but he just had so much charisma, and that's really what this movie is banking on.
Sure.
The charisma of Dwayne Johnson, the charisma of Idris Elba, the charisma of Jason Statham. Like, this movie is charisma in a can. That can? No, not this can. This can's for Alita. This is a can of whoop ass, according to him, according to the trailer.
According to the trailer.
So we look at this, and we see all of the basic things that you need to sell a movie.
Right.
Like, it's funny. So if you go in wanting a comedy, there's clear-cut comedy.
It's action.
It's action-driven, absolutely. All of the set pieces
It's science fiction, because we got a super villain.
Yeah, now we're adding super villains to the mix, and people have already been kind of joking about this for the last couple of years, you know, online, you know, people who really like these movies, but we're getting ever closer to it that eventually, this is the hope of the Fast and the Furious fandom, all those Fs, we're eventually going to get to space, too furious. It's gonna happen.
We're gonna drive these cars on the moon.
We're gonna have moon buggies. We're gonna be drifting the space shuttle, is what's gonna happen. Space heist is what we're saying to you.
Still waiting to hear some Eurobeat in these movies, quite frankly.
You know, if you just throw some Eurobeat over this trailer, I'm sure. Look, they're doing a barrel roll and a freaking buggy right there.
Yeah.
You can put running in the 90s on this thing,
and you can put it on the moon.
And put it on the moon. So basically, what we're saying is support this movie, and we will eventually get to the moon.
What? I didn't say that.
Well, we're not saying that, but I'm assuming that's where the producers are going. Like, I don't doubt for a second that there's not a screenwriter out there going, okay, now how are we gonna work this into the moon launch in the next one? Because we've almost got it figured out. Almost.
I don't think we need to elaborate very much on this.
Look, like, all I'm figuring is it's gonna be Hobbs, Shaw, and Vin Diesel, and we're gonna have to use the three of them to refract the light of the sun
off of their heads.
Off of their heads.
They have to bounce it off of each other's heads, though.
As a relay.
As a puzzle to unlock, because they have to hit these different points. They have to hit 3 or 4 different points. Okay, we need to stop. This madness has to stop.
It's not going to stop. This thing is going full speed.
Well, I'm stopping it.
Yes.
I know that was a short segment.
No, that was a short segment. It was just a funny thing to talk about.
But
because
you know what else is a funny thing to talk about? Shaggy.
Okay, so this miss. Right. All right. So
how do we even explain this?
Okay. So this actually goes back a couple of years to a Scooby-Doo animated movie. Of course, there's been a ton of them for the last couple of years, really since the live-action movies. Shaggy's been voiced by Matthew Lillard, who's been having a blast with the role. You know, he loves coming back. He loves playing the role. And a couple of years ago, there was a movie where Shaggy was in basically a bar fight, and he takes out all of these guys for, you know, comedic reasons.
And he kind of just looks like a badass for whatever reason.
Yeah, for a minute or two there. Yeah,
in 2017, somebody decided we're going to take this clip from this film and we're going to set it to some music from Dragon Ball Super.
Yeah.
And we're sung by Akira Kushida, who's done just tons of Ani songs, anime songs, and tokusatsu openings and closings and stuff. And it just sounds like this came out of some 80s anime, and then people have parlayed that into making it look like he came out of Fist of the North Star. Like
this idea of Ultra Instinct Shaggy.
Ultra Instinct Shaggy
was created.
So that was a thing, 2017. It kind of slept all last year, and then January, last month, skyrocketed again in popularity for whatever reason, right?
Now, a lot of people, it's just one of those things that timed out. It seemed to time out with the announcement of Mortal Kombat 11. And here, we've got these two things coinciding. You've got the gaming community and people who love dank memes. And they came together, and they've been creating so much content on a hour-to-hour, minute-by-minute basis, diving into this concept that Shaggy, Norval Roberts, that's his real name.
Oh, is it?
Yes, it is.
I didn't think I cared, but now I know.
Now you know it. Now you'll be able to answer that question on Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. Shaggy, at any given point in any piece of media, is only ever using 0.2% of his real power.
Oh my god. And this guy that we've always perceived as just being high with the munchies and terrified of everything.
Yeah.
Sure.
Is actually a fighting master. And so people have been jumping on this idea and have created a petition, this is what brings it into our show, to get this over to NetherRealm, who are working on this newest Mortal Kombat game, and are petitioning them, we want Shaggy in Mortal Kombat. And it was tenuous at first, like, oh, really? There's all these memes. But then there was a few people, and then there was a lot of people.
There's currently something like 84,000 signatures on change.org to put Shaggy into Mortal Kombat 11. And for whatever reason, it sounds like they might be listening.
Well, because, for one thing, Matthew Lillard, who at first was kind of being like, okay, yeah, that's cute, but over the last 2 weeks, he's been really embracing this. Mm-hmm. Like, he put the costume back on to take a picture. He's retweeting fan art of people drawing Shaggy, like, going Ultra Instinct. There's this one really good one of him, like, he's got this glowing aura around him, and the person who created this art types out, I don't remember drawing this. And Matthew Lillard retweets it like, you've done a great job, my child. Zoinks! And people are really buying into this. So now the head of NetherRealm and some people working on Mortal Kombat are starting to come up with renditions of, all right, let me show you guys something. And they're actually creating a rendition of what Shaggy would look like in-game.
So the question is, are they allowed to do that? Legally, from a legal standpoint.
Now, from a legal standpoint, NetherRealm, the Mortal Kombat license, and Hanna-Barbera's license for for Scooby-Doo overall are both held by Warner Brothers.
Right, right.
So technically, they're within their rights to do it.
They just have to ask, I'm sure, just the right people, knock on the right doors and be like, hey, can we do this?
Yeah, go. I mean, we've already got some. Yeah, you got some time.
Look, you just have to sign this official sheet of paper.
Okay, what are we doing here?
This is Shaggy, and this is your signature.
Okay, what am I doing? This is Mortal Kombat. What am I signing for Shaggy?
Thanks.
What did I just sign? And now it's getting closer and closer to seeing something I never thought I'd get to say. We will get Shaggy as DLC in Mortal Kombat. Now the picture we're showing you is another bit of fan art of people saying, well, if we don't get him for Mortal Kombat, maybe he would make more sense in Smash. And somebody made this rendition of him for Smash.
It's so dumb. But this is a really good 3D.
That's a really boss render.
This is a really good 3D render. He doesn't necessarily look like a fighter. He just looks kind of upset. But
well, he's got to look like he's got some sort of edge. I appreciate there.
No, he doesn't. Have you seen half the roster of Smash? Half of the characters are adorable.
Well, yeah, but okay, half the characters should be harmless. Let's put it that way.
Okay.
When you phrase it like that, Shaggy fits right in. But again, he's only using 2% of his power at any given moment.
This is ridiculous.
Like, he could take on everything that wiped out the whole roster there, and Kirby was the only one to escape. Now that I'm thinking about it, this just hit me right now. We have an eating contest between Shaggy and Kirby if he shows up in Smash.
Oh no, I actually don't know who would win.
Who's more bottomless?
I don't know.
But think about this. If Kirby were to get the upper hand just for a second and he eats Shaggy, Kirby will never be satisfied, because then he'll have Shaggy's hair and his hunger.
Oh, and then he'll become Unicron.
Oh. But see, like, these are the kinds of conversations people are having online right now.
Yeah.
Like, he could whoop Goku, things like that. It's some ridiculous stuff like that.
Well, it helps when you put Dragon Ball music on top of a video of Shaggy whooping up on people.
There's a nice 4-panel comic that I've seen of specifically that, of people even saying, let's get him in some fighting game, get him in Dragon Ball Fighters. And we already have that argument there, again, over food. Goku being like, hey, can I get some of that sandwich? Like, no, man, I made this for myself, zoinks! And then they get into it over food. Again, the key to making Shaggy fight is withholding dinner, or lunch, or breakfast, or Scooby snacks, or really anything.
Because he'll eat dog food, apparently.
He's done it. He's been doing it for years, decades. So, will this be a thing? There's a possibility, it seems, and we never thought this would be a thing, but because it looks like NetherRealm is talking, and NetherRealm is actually entertaining the idea, we get to talk about it here. And we talk about, all of these different things, and that's why I like doing the show.
This is so strange.
Because
this has been the strangest show, Josh.
Yeah, because we've had these, like, talking about Mario, that's fine. We talk about Mario all the time.
Yeah.
But then talking about going back to the last story, it's not like we haven't talked about those actors in superhero roles before. The Rock's Black Adam, Idris Elba was there in the Thor movies, Jason Statham fought Jet Li. I mean, that's as close as he's getting there. But here, like, we've talked at length about Scooby-Doo. Mm-hmm. We've definitely talked about Mortal Kombat on the show before. But then having these things cross over, like, I don't know. It's something I never would have figured. Now, one thing I will say for sure, and I know we're going to close out here.
Yeah.
People are recommending Mortal Kombat. They're recommending Smash.
It's not going to happen in Smash. It's far more likely in Mortal Kombat.
Because they're actually talking to people.
That and the license is actually
It ain't going to show... You're not going to have him show up in Jump Force. He's not going to fight friggin' Luffy.
He's not,
it's not happening. He's not going to team up with Ichigo. Don't...
As cool as that would be.
As cool as that would be, yes. But admittedly, that one makes me the saddest because I do want to see what Shaggy looks like using Hokuto Shinken.
Because also, Shaggy and Goku would clear a restaurant together.
Clear a restaurant? They're going to clear any town they're in.
They would be friends. They wouldn't fight each other.
They'll fight each other. They'll fight each other over ham sandwich.
They might fight each other over a ham sandwich.
And that's really when he would go Ultra Instinct and push Goku. And then
we're gonna have Goku God, not Goku, Shaggy God form?
Oh my God.
Really? Is this where we're going
Oh my
now?
Shaggy God.
Oh my Shaggy God form.
He's a Rooparan.
Rupert. I actually
Jesus.
really don't like Scooby-Doo. I just need to put that out there right now.
The one thing I would say is, like, if he was in Smash and he had the option for switching his outfit, he would only have 2 other outfits. The red outfit that he has in, like, 13 Ghosts of Scooby-Doo, and him short form from a pup named Scooby-Doo.
Ugh.
And I would just play that against you because I know you hate,
a pup named Scooby-Doo.
I really like a pup named Scooby-Doo. So, we'll see.
Alright, well, we need to...
Yeah, let's get him out of here.
Shaggy. He'll probably pop up again later at some point. He's the new Toasty! That's what they're gonna do! They're gonna Toasty him!
That would be the best thing. If he's like, Toasty, zoinks! And then go back.
He's the new Toasty! That's what it is.
That's what they'll do.
That's my guess. That's my wild, harebrained guess. We gotta stop.
Yes.
We can definitely elaborate more on Shaggy theories in our post-show, but thank you so much for being here with us live on the show. If you're not here with us live right now and you're watching us over on YouTube later, I do appreciate you having watched the show. This is super great to have you here. We would love to have you down here. We start our shows between 7 and 7:30 on Friday nights over on twitch.tv/MarsGirl. Please come down so that we can have our Q&A time with you. We do that for an additional half an hour. You hang out with these cool people right over here, and that's another half an hour that if you're just watching it on YouTube, you otherwise are not going to see.
And of course, during the week, you can always talk to us over on social media. On Twitter, I'm at JoshKnight1st.
And I'm at MarsGirl.
And that's been this week's episode of Beyond the Black Rims. We will see you guys again next episode.
Thanks, everybody.